Strength isn't genetic. It's not something you're born with or without. Real strength is built, forged, and developed through deliberate practice and unwavering commitment to principles that most men never discover. 500 years ago, Niccolò Machiavelli understood this truth when he wrote that fortune is the judge of half of our actions, but she leaves the control of the other half to us. The modern world has forgotten this wisdom, but today you'll rediscover the 7 pillars that separate strong men from weak ones. Principles that Machiavelli himself recognized in the leaders he studied. If you want to transform from someone who hopes for respect to someone who commands it naturally, you need to understand these 7 foundational principles that have guided powerful men throughout history. The modern world has created a crisis of masculine strength. Men today are softer, weaker, and more confused about their identity than any generation in history. They've been told that strength is toxic, that confidence is arrogance, that standards are oppression. They've been conditioned to seek approval instead of earning respect, to avoid conflict instead of facing it head-on, to accommodate weakness instead of building strength. Machiavelli warned against this centuries ago when he observed that men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, meaning that how you appear matters as much as what you actually accomplish. But strength can be built at any age, in any circumstance, starting from any position. It doesn't matter if you're 20 or 50, rich or broke, confident or insecure. The 7 pillars of strength are universal principles that work for any man willing to apply them consistently. These aren't theories or motivational concepts. These are practical frameworks that have been proven across cultures and throughout history. Every strong man throughout time has embodied these principles, whether he consciously understood them or not. Machiavelli wrote that a wise man ought always to follow the paths beaten by great men and to imitate those who have been supreme. This is exactly what we're going to do today. Follow the paths of strength that have been proven effective by the strongest men in history. The 7 pillars don't just make you stronger, they make you magnetic. Strong men attract opportunities, relationships, and respect without effort, because strength is the most attractive quality a man can possess. This is the foundation of all masculine strength, because responsibility is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Machiavelli understood this when he wrote that everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. The appearance of taking responsibility is important, but actually taking responsibility is what transforms your reality. Weak men avoid responsibility. They blame circumstances, other people, their upbringing, society, the economy, their genetics. They have endless explanations for why their life isn't working, but no solutions for how to make it work better. This victim mentality keeps them trapped in weakness because when you blame external factors for your problems, you give external factors control over your solutions. Strong men embrace total responsibility for their outcomes. They understand that while they can't control what happens to them, they have complete control over how they respond to what happens to them. This shift from victim mentality to responsibility mentality is the first and most crucial step in building unbreakable strength. When you take responsibility for everything in your life, you take back your power to change everything in your life. Responsibility means owning your failures without excuse and your successes without ego. It means acknowledging that your current situation is the result of your past decisions, actions, and responses. This isn't about self-blame or guilt. It's about empowerment. When you accept that you created your current reality, you accept that you have the power to create a different reality. The responsibility mindset transforms how you approach every challenge. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "How can I handle this effectively?" Instead of, "Who can I blame for this problem?" you ask, "What can I do to solve this problem?" This shift in questioning changes everything because it focuses your energy on solutions instead of complaints. Embracing responsibility also means taking ownership of your emotional responses. Weak men let external circumstances control their internal state. They're happy when things go well and devastated when things go poorly. Their mood, confidence, and self-worth are determined by factors outside their control. Strong men maintain emotional stability regardless of external circumstances because they take responsibility for their own emotional regulation. Here's how to build the responsibility pillar. Stop making excuses for any aspect of your life that isn't working. Take complete ownership of your current situation without blame or self-pity. Focus your energy on what you can control instead of complaining about what you can't control. Make decisions based on your values and goals, not on your circumstances or emotions. When something goes wrong, immediately ask yourself 3 questions. What did I do to contribute to this situation? What can I learn from this experience? What will I do differently next time? This practice transforms every setback into education and every failure into preparation for future success. The man who takes responsibility for everything becomes powerful because he believes he can influence everything. The man who takes responsibility for nothing remains powerless because he believes he can influence nothing. Responsibility isn't a burden. It's the key to freedom and strength. Write in the comments, "I own my results," if you're ready to embrace total responsibility for your life. Standards are the invisible force that determines the quality of your life. Your standards for yourself determine what you achieve. Your standards for others determine how you're treated. Machiavelli observed that since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved. This doesn't mean being cruel. It means having standards that command respect. Most men have no conscious standards. They accept whatever life gives them. They tolerate disrespectful treatment because they haven't decided what treatment they deserve. They settle for mediocre results because they haven't determined what results they require. They surround themselves with low-quality people because they haven't established criteria for the relationships they allow in their life. Strong men have crystal-clear standards that they communicate through their actions, not their words. They know exactly what they will and won't accept in every area of life. They know what level of effort they require from themselves. They know what kind of behavior they expect from others. They know what quality of results they demand from their work. These standards aren't negotiable because they're based on self-respect, not convenience. Having high standards means being willing to walk away from anything that doesn't meet those standards. This includes jobs that don't respect your value, relationships that don't add to your life, friendships that drain your energy, and opportunities that compromise your integrity. The willingness to walk away from what doesn't serve you is what creates the space for what does serve you. Standards create respect because they demonstrate self-worth. When you have high standards for yourself, people see that you value yourself highly. When you have high standards for others, people understand that earning your approval means something valuable. Low standards communicate that you don't value yourself or your time, which makes others less likely to value you or your time. The key to maintaining standards is consistency. Your standards must apply regardless of circumstances, emotions, or pressure from others. If you enforce your standards only when it's convenient, they aren't really standards. They're suggestions. True standards are maintained especially when maintaining them is difficult or costly. Here's how to build the standards pillar. Define your non-negotiable standards in every important area of your life. Write them down clearly. Communicate them through your actions, not through speeches or ultimatums. Enforce them consistently regardless of external pressure. Be willing to pay the short-term cost of maintaining standards to receive the long-term benefit of living by them. Start with standards for yourself before establishing standards for others. Decide what level of effort you require from yourself in your work, your health, your relationships. Decide what behaviors you will and won't tolerate from yourself. Decide what results you consider acceptable and unacceptable from your own performance. Then extend those standards to how you allow others to treat you. Decide what kind of respect you require. Decide what level of effort you expect from people who want access to your time and energy. Decide what behaviors you will reward with continued engagement and what behaviors you will punish with withdrawal of attention. The man with no standards gets whatever life randomly provides. The man with high standards gets what he specifically requires. Standards aren't about being difficult. They're about being intentional with the quality of your life experience. Emotional control is the difference between being a reactive victim of circumstances and being a responsive creator of outcomes. Machiavelli understood this when he wrote that the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. Your ability to maintain emotional composure determines who wants to be around you and follow your leadership. Weak men are controlled by their emotions. Strong men control their emotions. This doesn't mean suppressing or denying emotions. It means using emotions as information while making decisions based on logic and values. Emotional self-mastery means maintaining your composure under pressure, making rational decisions when you're feeling intense emotions, and responding to challenges with strategic thinking instead of emotional reactions. Mental toughness is the capacity to persist through difficulty, maintain focus despite distractions, and continue working toward your goals even when you don't feel motivated. It's the psychological strength that allows you to do what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel about doing it. Mental toughness transforms external pressure into internal strength. Most men are mentally soft because they've never deliberately developed mental toughness. They avoid difficult situations, quit when things get uncomfortable, and make decisions based on how they feel in the moment, rather than what they want to achieve in the long term. This mental softness makes them unpredictable and unreliable to themselves and others. Strong men have trained themselves to remain calm under pressure, think clearly during crisis, and maintain their principles even when emotions are running high. They've developed the ability to separate their emotional experience from their decision-making process. They feel emotions fully but don't let emotions make their decisions for them. Emotional self-mastery also involves understanding and managing the emotions of others. Strong men can remain calm when others are agitated, think strategically when others are reactive, and maintain their frame when others are trying to pull them into emotional chaos. This emotional stability makes them natural leaders because people gravitate towards stability during uncertainty. Here's how to build the emotional self-mastery pillar. Practice delayed responses instead of immediate reactions. When you feel intense emotions, pause and ask yourself what the situation requires rather than what you feel like doing. Develop stress management techniques that allow you to remain calm under pressure. Challenge yourself regularly with difficult situations that require mental toughness. Take on projects that push your limits. Put yourself in pressure situations that test your emotional control. Practice maintaining your principles when it's inconvenient or costly to do so. Mental toughness is built through deliberate practice, not through comfort and ease. Learn to separate your identity from your emotions. You are not your anger, your fear, your sadness, or your excitement. You are the person who experiences these emotions and decides how to respond to them. This separation gives you power over your emotional experience instead of letting your emotional experience have power over you. The emotionally reactive man is controlled by his environment. The emotionally controlled man controls his environment. Emotional self-mastery isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming emotionally intelligent and strategically responsive. Comment, emotional control equals power, if you understand the importance of emotional self-mastery. Strong men are always becoming stronger. They understand that strength isn't a destination, it's a direction. Machiavelli wrote that there is nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to conduct, or more uncertain in its success than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things. This speaks to the constant challenge of growth and the courage required for continuous improvement. Continuous improvement is what separates strong men from men who peaked early and then stagnated. Many men develop some strength in their 20s and then coast for the rest of their lives. They stop learning, stop growing, stop pushing their limits. They become comfortable with their current level of capability and lose the drive to exceed it. Strong men maintain what psychologists call a growth mindset. They believe their abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. They see challenges as opportunities to grow stronger. They view failures as learning experiences. They understand that mastery is a lifelong pursuit, not a one-time achievement. This commitment to growth extends to every area of life. Strong men continuously improve their physical capabilities through consistent training. They expand their mental capabilities through constant learning. They develop their emotional capabilities through self-reflection and conscious practice. They enhance their professional capabilities through skill development and experience. The key to continuous improvement is systems thinking rather than goals thinking. Goals have endpoints. Once you achieve them, the motivation stops. Systems are ongoing processes that create continuous progress. Strong men focus on building systems that naturally produce improvement, rather than just setting goals that create temporary motivation. Continuous improvement also requires honest self-assessment. You can't improve what you won't acknowledge needs improvement. Strong men regularly evaluate their performance, identify their weaknesses, and create specific plans to address those weaknesses. They seek feedback from trusted sources and use that feedback to guide their development efforts. Here's how to build the continuous improvement pillar. Identify the areas where you want to develop strength and create specific systems for improvement in those areas. Dedicate time every day to learning something new or practicing an important skill. Seek out challenges that push you beyond your current comfort zone. Read books, take courses, find mentors, and invest in your own development. Treat learning as a lifelong responsibility, not something that ended when you finished school. Develop expertise in areas that matter to your goals and values. Become someone who others come to for knowledge and capability. Track your progress in the areas that matter most to you. Keep records of your improvements so you can see the compound effect of consistent effort over time. Celebrate small improvements because they add up to massive transformations over the long term. The man who stops growing starts dying. The man who commits to continuous improvement becomes unstoppable over time. Strength isn't about where you start. It's about the direction you're moving and the consistency with which you're moving in that direction. Confidence without competence is arrogance. Competence without confidence is wasted potential. Machiavelli recognized this balance when he described the qualities of effective leadership. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. Therefore, it is necessary to be a fox to discover the traps and a lion to terrify the wolves. This metaphor captures the need for both intellectual competence, the fox, and confident strength, the lion. Strong men develop both competence and the confidence that naturally comes from genuine capability. They don't fake expertise or pretend to know things they don't know. They build real skills that create real value in the real world. Competence is the foundation of authentic confidence. When you know you can handle whatever challenges arise in your area of expertise, you naturally feel confident about facing those challenges. Most men either lack competence in important areas or fail to develop competence deeply enough to create real confidence. They have surface-level knowledge in many areas but expertise in none. They can talk about many topics but can't actually deliver results in any topic. This shallow competence creates insecurity because they know their knowledge isn't deep enough to withstand serious scrutiny. Strong men choose specific areas where they will develop deep competence. They understand that it's better to be expert level in a few important areas than novice level in many areas. They focus their learning and development efforts on building genuine expertise that creates real value and commands real respect. Genuine competence requires going beyond theoretical knowledge to practical application. You don't really understand something until you can do it consistently under pressure. Strong men test their knowledge in real-world situations. They practice their skills until they become automatic. They develop capabilities that work in actual challenging circumstances, not just in comfortable practice environments. Competence also requires staying current in your areas of expertise. Knowledge and skills that aren't maintained deteriorate over time. Strong men continuously update their knowledge, refine their skills, and adapt to changes in their fields. They understand that expertise is not a one-time achievement, but an ongoing commitment. Here's how to build the competence pillar. Choose 2 or 3 areas where you want to develop expert-level capability. Focus your learning efforts on these specific areas rather than trying to know everything about everything. Go deep instead of going wide. Find ways to practice your skills in real-world situations with real consequences. Theoretical knowledge isn't enough. You need practical experience under pressure. Seek out challenges that test your capabilities and reveal areas where you need further development. Learn from people who have already achieved the level of competence you want to develop. Find mentors, study their methods, and model their approaches. Don't try to reinvent everything from scratch when you can learn from people who have already solved the problems you're trying to solve. The competent man earns respect through his capabilities. The incompetent man demands respect through his ego. Competence speaks for itself and creates the foundation for authentic confidence that can't be shaken by external circumstances. Leadership isn't about having followers. It's about having the personal qualities that naturally inspire others to follow. Machiavelli understood this when he wrote that men willingly believe what they wish. Effective leadership requires understanding human psychology and using that understanding to create positive outcomes for everyone involved. Strong men develop leadership presence not to control others, but to influence positive outcomes in every situation they encounter. Leadership presence is the combination of confidence, competence, and character that makes others naturally look to you for guidance. Social intelligence is the ability to understand social dynamics, read people accurately, communicate effectively, and influence outcomes through interpersonal skills. Leadership presence starts with self-leadership. You can't lead others effectively if you can't lead yourself effectively. This means having clear values that guide your decisions, maintaining consistency between your words and actions, and demonstrating the qualities you expect from others. People follow leaders they respect, and respect comes from character demonstrated through consistent behavior over time. Social intelligence involves understanding what motivates different people, how to communicate in ways that resonate with different personalities, and how to create win-win situations that serve everyone's interests. It's not about manipulation or control. It's about understanding human psychology well enough to create positive outcomes for everyone involved. Strong men also understand group dynamics and know how to positively influence the energy and direction of any group they're part of. They know when to lead and when to follow. They know how to build consensus around important decisions. They know how to resolve conflicts constructively. They know how to bring out the best in other people. Leadership presence is communicated through body language, vocal tonality, decision-making ability, and emotional composure. People unconsciously assess these qualities when deciding whether to respect and follow someone. Strong men develop all aspects of leadership presence because they understand that leadership is influence, and influence requires the complete package of personal qualities. Here's how to build the leadership presence pillar. Practice taking initiative in group situations instead of waiting for someone else to lead. Develop your communication skills so you can express your ideas clearly and persuasively. Learn to make decisions confidently and take responsibility for the outcomes of those decisions. Study successful leaders in your field and observe what makes them effective. Notice how they communicate, how they handle pressure, how they interact with different types of people. Practice these leadership behaviors in low-stakes situations so you can perform them naturally in high-stakes situations. Work on your emotional intelligence by learning to read people's emotions accurately and respond appropriately. Develop empathy for different perspectives while maintaining your own principles and standards. Learn to influence through inspiration and logic rather than through pressure or manipulation. The man with leadership presence influences positive outcomes wherever he goes. The man without leadership presence is influenced by whatever dynamics are already present. Leadership presence isn't about dominating others. It's about elevating everyone, including yourself. Your body is the vehicle for everything else you want to accomplish in life. Physical weakness creates mental weakness. Physical discipline creates mental discipline. Machiavelli understood the connection between physical and mental strength when he emphasized the importance of military training for leaders, not just for warfare, but for developing the discipline and toughness required for effective leadership. Strong men understand that taking care of their body isn't vanity, it's responsibility. Your physical condition affects your energy, confidence, mental clarity, and ability to handle stress. Physical strength isn't just about looking good or being able to lift heavy weights. It's about having the energy to pursue your goals, the stamina to persist through challenges, the confidence that comes from knowing you can handle physical demands, and the discipline that transfers from physical training to every other area of life. Mental discipline is the ability to do what you know you should do, regardless of how you feel about doing it. Physical training is one of the best ways to develop mental discipline because it requires you to push through discomfort, maintain consistency, and persist when you don't feel motivated. The discipline you develop in the gym transfers to every other area of your life. Physical fitness also affects how others perceive and respond to you. Whether it's fair or not, people make unconscious judgments about your character, discipline, and capabilities based on your physical condition. A man who clearly takes care of his body signals that he has discipline, self-respect, and the ability to maintain long-term commitments. The physical pillar isn't about achieving perfect aesthetics or competitive athletic performance. It's about maintaining the level of physical capability and mental discipline that supports your other goals and responsibilities. It's about being physically strong enough to handle whatever life demands from you without physical limitations holding you back. Physical training also provides mental benefits that extend far beyond the physical results. Regular exercise reduces stress, improves mood, increases mental clarity, and provides a healthy outlet for aggressive energy. The man who trains regularly is better equipped to handle the mental and emotional demands of building strength in other areas. Here's how to build the physical strength and mental discipline pillar. Establish a consistent training routine that you can maintain long-term. Focus on compound movements that build functional strength and overall fitness. Don't worry about having the perfect program. Worry about having a program you'll actually follow consistently. Use physical training as practice for mental discipline. When you don't feel like working out, work out anyway. When the weight feels heavy, lift it anyway. When you want to quit, push through and finish. Every time you override your feelings and do what you know you should do, you strengthen your mental discipline muscle. Pay attention to your nutrition, sleep, and recovery. Physical strength isn't built only in the gym. It's built through the complete lifestyle that supports physical development. Treat your body like the valuable asset it is by giving it the fuel, rest, and care it needs to perform optimally. The physically strong man has confidence that can't be shaken because it's built on a foundation of actual capability. The mentally disciplined man achieves goals that others only dream about because he has the psychological strength to persist when others quit. Physical strength and mental discipline work together to create unshakable inner strength. Comment, strong body, strong mind, if you understand the connection between physical and mental strength. These 7 pillars work together to create the foundation of masculine strength that can't be broken by external circumstances. As Machiavelli taught us, it is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. Your strength doesn't come from external validation or inherited advantages. It comes from deliberately building these 7 pillars until they become unshakable. Responsibility gives you power over your outcomes. Standards create the quality of your life experience. Emotional self-mastery gives you control over your responses. Continuous improvement ensures you're always getting stronger. Competence creates authentic confidence. Leadership presence allows you to influence positive outcomes. Physical strength and mental discipline provide the foundation that supports everything else. Building strength in all 7 pillars takes time, but the process itself makes you stronger. You don't have to perfect one pillar before starting another. You can work on all 7 simultaneously, allowing progress in each area to support progress in every other area. The man who commits to building these 7 pillars becomes genuinely strong, not just apparently strong. The strongest men aren't born that way. They're built that way through deliberate practice of these 7 fundamental principles. Every strong man you admire has developed these pillars, whether he consciously understood them or not. Machiavelli studied the great leaders of history and identified the patterns that made them effective. Now that you understand these patterns consciously, you can build them deliberately instead of hoping they develop accidentally. If these 7 pillars resonated with you, you're ready to begin the serious work of building unshakable masculine strength. There are specific daily practices and systems that make building these pillars automatic and inevitable. There are advanced techniques for accelerating your development in each area. Subscribe if you're ready to become the strongest version of yourself. Hit the bell so you don't miss the advanced training methods for each pillar. Share this with someone who needs to understand that strength is built, not inherited. Which pillar do you need to work on most? Comment the number 1 through 7 and tell me which area needs your immediate attention. Also, drop a hammer emoji if you're ready to start building unbreakable strength. The path to masculine strength isn't complicated, but it isn't easy. It requires consistent action over extended time. But every day you work on these 7 pillars, you become stronger. And strength, once built, becomes the foundation for everything else you want to accomplish in life. Strong men aren't born. They're forged through commitment to these timeless principles that Machiavelli understood centuries ago and that remain true today.